Okay, here we go. Welcome to Formats. I have the examples ready now, and I've gone through the introductions. I've talked to you how to talk to me during the webinar. So let's get started with the material. Let's see. I'm going to open up our curriculum, take a look and see what today's course curriculum has on it for the formats. Okay. MLS Formats getting started. What we're going to do is we're going to look at all the TMK formats, all the MLS formats, and additional formats involved. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the differences between MLS bedrooms and TMK bedrooms, and the same thing goes with a few other fields that share similar names but mean different things. So that's basically what we'll cover. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to create a basic search with a couple of TMK numbers. When you put in a search with TMK numbers, let me grab my arrow. Ew, that's gray. I don't like a gray arrow. Let's try this again. There we go. Pink. That's really easy to see. That's why I like to use that pink arrow. Okay, so you just enter your MLS numbers in a search, and if you're doing multiple MLS numbers, you separate them with a comma. So 294-794, comma, 293-055, comma, 245-822. Now, watch what happens when I click outside the box somewhere, hit enter. It properly formats that. The way that the system formats it is the item that you put in the MLS number, comma, space, the next one, comma, space, the word or, and then space, and then the last MLS number. And the reason it says or is because it's illogical and impossible for, if you put the word and there, and the listing can't be more than one MLS number. In other words, if we put the and in there, we'd be telling the system to go look for a listing that has all three of those MLS numbers attached to it, which is just not valid. So anyway, all you have to worry about is putting commas in between, and it puts it in the proper syntax for you. The system does when you click outside the box. All right, now what we're going to be playing with today is this, the format. And the format list, I probably will keep calling it a bar, format bar, because it used to be a bar on the side of the screen. But the list here, notice it has more than one tab across the top. This is the one we're going to spend the most of the class in. There's also the saved tab, and that will be explained to you when you take a webinar. I believe it's called, I want to say customizing, I believe is the webinar that shows you how to create saved searches and saving them and applying them and making them defaults and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more advanced than what we're doing today. The next item over is the labels tab. And if you had taken the morning class with me, we just worked in that tab quite a bit in the farming and labels class. So this tab is covered in the farming and labels class. And then finally we have our options. Okay, and these options are actually covered, even though it says format, they're actually covered in the searching class. There's a couple that we will come back and play with, but for the majority of them are explained in the basics class and the searching class. So I clicked outside that box just to get out of there for a second and show you this. This is how the results will be formatted on your screen when you get your results back. So right now it's telling me the results to my search criteria, whatever the search criteria is down here. Now we happen to know that it's going to result in 3 listings, right? We already know that because I put in 3 MLS numbers. But had I built a search that said a certain subdivision, active listings for residential properties with 3 bedrooms, 2 bath homes, you know, that kind of thing, then we wouldn't necessarily know the number of results we're going to get back. And that's why you kind of got to watch having this all right here like I do, because I think the default is something like 20, I think, or 20 or 40 used to be the default. And I've changed mine to all. And otherwise, if I did a large search, I would only see 20 listings at a time, and I'd have to forward to the next page. And that's not hard to do. You just click a button that says next page. But sometimes you'll have circumstances where you want all of the results to show up on one page. And when you do, you simply just do the word all. Okay. Or if it's under the amount that you have there, like say you had 20 and you know that you're only going to get 3 listings back, you don't have to change it to all because it's going to give you 3 listings regardless. So, all right, standard sort. If I click the down arrow, it gives us choices of how to sort our results. And the results will be sorted in a standard way, which is, well, I'll show you the standard way in a moment. We'll come back and talk about that. The next way, if you want to sort your results by price, you can do it that way. The results can be sorted by tax key, by zip code, and then finally by sold date if you're searching solds. Okay, it's not going to be sorted by sold date if you're only looking at active property, active listings. Okay, so we're going to leave it standard sort, and I'll tell you what that is in just a sec. Okay, with our 3 MLS numbers in place, I'm going to go ahead and open the format bar again and look at our formats that we have. And you can see we're going to ignore this section here. This section up above, I'm going to just clear it actually. It's a history kind of the most frequently used saved formats that you create, and we're not doing that in this class, so I'm just going to skip this section up here, and we're going to start right down here. Oh, I take that back. Things have gotten moved around. Okay. I apologize, folks. I'm not used to seeing this border bar here. So interesting. I think things got moved around since the last time I taught the formats class. Okay, so we're going to start with MLS. That's the basic MLS. I call it the MLS one-liner, even though it many times goes to 2 lines when you use this format. So I'm going to select the format, and then I'm simply going to go down to the bottom of the screen and click Search Now. And we should see our 3 listings, which we have in front of us here, and they are sorted in the standard sort. And at the top of our screen, it recaps what it is that we're searching on so that we know how we got these results below. Now this one's super easy, right? We're just searching on 3 different MLS numbers, no big deal. But if you start doing more complex searches, like I mentioned before, Keoho Estates, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes on the market, currently active with less than 120 days on market, that kind of thing. You start putting in a lot of search criteria, and the way that you remember what you were searching on when you got those results is to look in your Show Search Recap. Now, if this information is not being displayed at the top of your screen, let me show you why. So next thing I'm going to do is click Modify. We're going to go back to the format bar. We're going to take a look at Options, which is the farthest tab on the right. And you'll notice that I have the Show Search Recap turned on. I have it checkmarked, so it's on. And therefore, it shows the search recap, right, that we were just looking at. So let me go ahead and click Search Now again and explain something else. Our sort. Now, I have it set for standard sort. Standard sort goes by these first few fields. First of all, it goes by status. So it's going to sort your whole list by status: active, contingent, under contract, temporarily withdrawn, expired, and then sold. Okay, so because we have these 2 active listings first, they show up first. And then the bottom listing is obviously sold. It has a sold date here, and it was reported sold today. Now, what else does standard sort do is within those little sub sorting, like such as all the actives go together, right? So this one's active and this one's active. Then it does another subsort by price. So it'll put it in price order within the actual status of active. And then if we had 5 that were under contract, it would sort those 5 listings by price and then go on to the next category. So that's what standard sort does. Now, I want to show you something else. You can always sort your list by just simply clicking on the heading of the column heading up above. So the field of MLS number, if I click on that column heading, which I'm going to do right now, it's going to resort my list. And it sorted it by MLS number. If I were to click it again, it will sort it the other direction. It'll go ascending or descending, whichever way you want it to go, and as far as the sort is concerned. So it's no longer sorted as a standard sort. It's now being sorted as MLS number, descending. And then let's sort by TMK number. Let's do that sort. So all I have to do is click on the TMK link at the column. Not the number itself, but the actual heading of the column, TMK. Let's sort it by days on market. So if you're ever looking at a long list of properties and you want to see the ones that are newest on the market, they start to all look the same after a while. Oh yeah, I've seen this listing, or I've already looked at this listing 5 times. Sort them by days on market. It'll put your newest listings at the top. Okay. So just remember, every time you want to sort your list that you're looking at, you can always use any of these sort headings at the top. But when I click modify, and then I go back and I click search now, it's going to go back to the original sort mechanism, which is the standard sort that I have set here. Okay, until I start messing with it by clicking on some of these column headings, it's going to sort by standard every time. Now, how do we take it off that? I think I just showed you this a moment ago, so this will be a little refresher. You go up to Format. Oh, no, sorry. You go to the drop-down list. The drop-down list right here to the right is your sort pattern, how it's going to be sorted. So let's sort these by sold date, okay? Now we've only got one sold, but we're going to sort it by sold date. So the only sold is shown down here, and it's, you know, in this order. So let's try another sort, one more, and then we'll go on. Let's keep them sorted by price. Sort by price, and click search now. Okay, so now they're sorted by price. Now let's take a look at, I'm not ready to do these icons just yet. Let's talk about this MLS one-liner, which really ends up being, you know, multiple lines, depending on how many fields you have showing up. Now, the fields headings at the top are all there as part of the MLS one-liner, okay? With the exception of, there's always exceptions to every rule, right? With the exception of display and location. So you may or may not be looking at these when you do an MLS one-liner sort. And the way to turn these on and off is under your settings. So I'm sure everyone here has probably attended the basics class, the Getting Started, I believe we call it, Getting Started class. Now, in that class, I show you how to access your settings. And I'm going to show you again right here. There's a couple different ways to access your settings. One of them is to go right down here on the navigation panel on the left and click Settings. Okay, that's one way. The other way to achieve this is to click on your name, which will show up here on the navigation panel. And this, when you click on your name, these big giant buttons show up on this menu. And you can just click Settings right here to do the same thing. I find it easier just to go down here and click Settings. Okay, now what we want to do at this point is to, I believe it's search display options. Yeah, okay. So this is what we're going to look at, search display options. When I click on that, this little window pops up, kind of slides down, and it starts talking to me about some of my defaults that I have set up. And as you can see, I have the show recap automatically checked. So whenever I log in, it's automatically checked and it's on. I don't have to remember to go under options and turn it on. Okay, because that is set up in my settings as a default. Now notice that I do not have customer format checked, but I can turn it on anytime I want, and I'll show you where to do that. Okay. I do have days on market when I'm in customer format checked. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. And then these are the two that I just was pointing out to you. When you're using your MLS one-liner, the location will be displayed as well as the display will also show up when you have these two items checked. Okay? Now we're going to come back to this in a moment. So I'm going to close and I'm going to go back to the search results and just point out again, this is display and this is location. Location is a field that is brought in by public records. When you're inputting your listings, you do not have any control over what goes under location. If it's incorrect, so if the address is incorrect or the unit number in Kona Isle is incorrect, for instance, then you can contact HIS and tell them and they'll help you to correct that. But this information does flow in through public records. However, the display information right here is whatever the listing agent puts in. So this display is used for just a little extra marketing, just a little more information, hoping that someone will click on the listing and take a look further. Okay, so what you put in the display, first of all, number one, may or may not show up on the agent's screen. It depends on if they're actually looking at the display. So they may go unnoticed altogether. Or if they do have it, then they will see whatever you have in display here. Let's turn those off. I'm going to click Modify. I'm going to go out to my settings. Okay. Back to the search display options. And I'm going to turn off the MLS one-liner with location and display. Now, once you do that, you have to click Save Changes. Anytime you make any changes, don't click Close, click Save Changes. So that it actually does make the change happen for you. Now back to my search now. And you can see this has been tidied up a little bit, where actually, occasionally, it ends up being one line. It still isn't one line, but that's okay. Now, over here, it shows the listed by, okay? And if you want to contact the listing agent, instead of looking at the whole listing and whatnot, you can always just click on their name right here, and it brings up their little Rolodex card. It has a picture of them if they indeed have loaded their picture, but it has all their email, website, you know, whatever you need. So I will hit close and close that out. But again, that was just achieved by clicking the agent's name. All right. Now, with that being said, this list is not a list that I would be sending to a customer. What is it? Because it has the listing information, lister's information in here. In addition to that, when you actually look at the MLS itself, we're going to jump ahead for a second. I'm going to click on the MLS number. And this is our standard MLS look when we click on the MLS number. There's some things in here that we wouldn't want our customers or clients to see, such as private remarks, driving directions perhaps, and then of course the CSB information and the listing agent and office information at the bottom. So those things go away when you take it and put the listings in customer format. And I'll show you there's a couple different ways to do that. Okay, well, while we're at it, before I put it in customer format, I'm going to jump ahead again. And this time, we're going to take a look at the TMK for this property. So I'm going to click on the TMK number right here. And you'll probably notice at the top that our tabs are now growing. You see, we're in the TMK number, but I could pop back right back over to the MLS information here. Or I could pop right back over to our list of listings right here. So all these tabs are remaining open for me. What I wanted to show you here is that when you put something in customer format and you provide a link or information to the customer or your client, they will not see the owner's information and they will not see the sales history information here. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that that goes away when you send something in customer format. So let's put these things in customer format and we'll take a look again. There's a couple different ways you can do that. One way is you can do it before you even hit search. Let's click modify and we're going to go up to our format bar and under the options tab, voila, customer format, check that. And now when I click on search now, this is in customer format. And finally, we actually get to see the MLS one-liner in a one-line position here without the display, without the location, and without the listing agent's information. It actually takes up only one line except for the sold listing. Okay, now quickly, back to the full MLS on this listing. And you can see this pretty picture still, but no private remarks, no directions, and none of the listing agent information at the bottom. The tax key information, the public records information is lacking the owner's name, and there is no sales history section here as well. Those things have been removed. Okay, now one more thing I want to show you regarding customer format. I'm going to put it back in regular format. Okay, so I'm taking off the customer format under the options tab. Now when we hit search now, back to the normal way of looking at it. If I were going to be emailing these listings to a client, then I would want to use the email link right down here on the actions bar. And by the way, folks, all these actions down here, these are discussed with you when you take the basics of searching class. So I'm not going to reiterate all that stuff, but I'm going to click on email because I want to point out to you what before you get, so you're looking at your list of properties here, you decide you want to email these and you forgot to put it in customer format. When you click on the email link, it gives you the option right there and then to put it in customer format before proceeding. Okay, so it just automatically put it in customer format for me. I want to bring one thing to your attention, and this is a setting that you can set. When I have my listings in customer format, the DOM shows up. The DOM stands for days on market. So if you put your listings in customer format, but you don't want the days on market to be included with those listings, I'll show you how to remove that. Let's go ahead and go back to our settings. On the navigation panel, left side, bottom selection, settings, search display options, where we've been hanging out here. And this is how you can turn that off, by unchecking the days on market in customer format. So when you're in the regular format, it will always still show you. Let's go ahead and I'll search this again. Okay. Because I'm in the regular format, not customer format, it shows me the days on market. But when I do convert it now to a customer format, say I were getting ready to email, When I do that, the days on market also disappear because in my settings, I turned that feature off. Okay, so lots of little bells and whistles here to play around with. Okay, let's go back to our normal view, and the days on market is on, of course, because we're looking at the normal view. Let me show you something. These days on markets are underlined numbers. Whenever you see anything in the MLS that turns into an underline or is already underlined at the top, it usually has a function. So when I click on this, 100, let's see. Yeah, let's go to this one. 1,533 days. I'm going to click on this, and we'll look and see the history. So it was released on June 28th of 2011, and it's an active listing, but it was temporarily off market for 335 days. So all in all, technically, it was released 1,868 days ago, but because it was off market for this period of time, there's technically only 1,533 days on the market, exposed to the active market. So that's how that is computed. And every days on market is clickable, so you can see that information. And if it was off market for being, here we go. This one tells us this listing was released on April 12th. On June 27th, it went under contract 76 days after it was released. And therefore, the listing was on the market for a period of 76 days because then it closed. So, all right. So that's days on market stuff. Let's start looking at some of these icons now over here to the left. First of all, the first thing you see is these little check mark boxes. And if you utilize a check mark box, it makes it a pretty yellow background, right? Now, what can you do with these? Well, when you check mark some listings, and not only are they highlighted, you can then email. When you go to email, you can email the entire page the way it looks, or just the checked listings, so it would only send the 2 checked listings that are highlighted, or the not checked, which would be the single one in the middle that did not get checked. It would send only that one. In addition, you can copy the entire page. Okay, I'm going to show you this. And you see, when I copy it, it remains to have those particular ones highlighted. And sometimes I like to do this because if I've got a big long list of properties, but there's a couple of them that I think will really meet my client's needs, then I will go ahead and select those, and then I'll copy like I'm doing here, and then I will paste this, manually paste it in my email. And the way to actually proceed with the copy and paste, the copy and paste is to click on the Control key along with the A to select, okay, Control A to select, and you can see it highlights everything. And then the next step is hit Control and C. Now, it doesn't do anything. Okay, it doesn't visibly do anything, but it did copy this information to my clipboard. And let's go in and see if I can do a fake little an email now. And so I'm in my email program. Are you guys there with me? Let's see. Yeah, okay. And so I am in my email program, you know, dear Susie, take a look at these highlighted listings that I think you'll really like. Okay, something like that. And then I paste it with a Control V. V as in Victor, Control and V, and it pastes that information directly into my email. Keeps those highlighted, okay? And voila. Of course, I wouldn't send it this way. I would put it in customer format first. This is just an example for you to look at. Okay, so now, when you've done this, what's happened is the research is over here on this tab. So I can click on it and go right back to the MLS. But what's happened is it's opened up in a separate browser window and put my information here for me to select, copy, and then paste somewhere else. Once I'm done doing this, I can always close this browser window, and we're back in our MLS. Okay, so checkmark boxes can be used in that manner. They can be utilized along with some of these functions like print, printing only the checked items or that kind of thing. So yeah, let's leave it like that. There's our checked, what the little checkbox does for us. Now, the next item is this little globe. It's not really a globe. I take that back. It's a beach ball. It's a dot. And this one's red, this one's blue, and this one's blue. When I click on the little beach ball for any listing, it makes it red. Now, there is only one way that this will be utilized in your experience with the MLS, and that is when you're utilizing the mapping functions. And since this is not a mapping class, we'll just hold off on talking more about that. When you take mapping class, we teach two classes, Maps 1 and Maps 2. And when you take the mapping classes, you will be introduced to what that little beach ball does for you, okay? And it used to have something to do with formats, but we no longer use the multiple pane formats, so it no longer is applicable in the formats world, okay? Next item is the globe. Okay, now this is the globe, and when I click on a globe next to any one of these listings, it gives me the general overview map. Okay, this is called a general overview map, just the general map. And of course, it opens up in a separate tab. I can leave that map up and just keep going back. And this is not a mappings class, but I want to point out something to you, that when you map with the general overview map feature, a listing that's in a condo project, it will show the entire project parcel outlined, okay? As opposed to, let's do that for an individual. Here we go. Here's one. Okay, so an individual parcel within a subdivision will be read outlined like this. Okay, so that's the difference. All right, next item is a little hourglass. And the little hourglass, not hourglass, the little timepiece, okay? It's a little timepiece. I'm going to click on that, and it will show us the history of the listing. Now, the history, anytime a field is changed, it will be recorded in this history log. Okay, so we can see that some media was changed. In other words, pictures were uploaded and deleted and moved around and that kind of thing. The price was changed. That's kind of important. Price change from $319 to $309, and it tells you exact date and time down to the second when that changed. And then we've had some other things change, association stuff and remarks, and then price a couple of times. And then it changed into a distressed property with an ST here. So these are the fields that have changed, and this is when they did change. So that's the history, which I always look at before I show a property or before I write an offer on a property. I want to make sure that my clients see the history of the listing. And possibly I will search the TMK and see if there were other listings where they did not sell for other price points or, that kind of thing. But I for sure always show them, at least discuss the history. Like it started at this price, it went down 3 times on these dates, blah, blah, blah. Okay, next item. This little guy here is a brochure. It's a very quick way to create a brochure. Now, is it a really beautiful, fancy brochure? Not really, not so much, but it is a really quick way to do a brochure. And if you just need something to give to your client as you're showing them, 8 properties today, you can print one of these off, it won't hurt. It's got a few details on there. And of course, you want to put it in customer format first, right? Right now, it says expand remarks for printing. So I can click on that. Otherwise, it's not going to print all the remarks because it's basically set up so that it will stay on one page without rolling onto a second page. And my experience is it doesn't always work like that. I think it depends on what printer you use and how your printer settings are set, like margins and stuff like that. But it's supposed to keep it so that it's short and sweet so it stays on one page. Now, what we would want to do, of course, is to take it out of this format. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and close the brochure out. I'm going to put this whole list of properties in customer format using my format bar, options, and then checking customer format. Now I'm going to repeat the search, and I'm going to open up the browser, excuse me, the brochure when that's done reloading here. Well, let's try something else. I'm going to try a different search. And I'm not sure what's taken so long here. I'm going to jump out to another window and see if anything else is there. Yeah, okay, so it's research, it looks like. Let me just start a whole new search to begin with, okay? So let's click modify. Actually, what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to go ahead and log out. Close my browser and log back in. So logging out doesn't seem to be working either. Okay, maybe we're having some system issues here. Let me close that browser or close that page and open another one. Voila. Okay, I'm just going to log back in and see if we can't get somewhere. Okay, very good. I must have been stuck in some kind of like internet loop or something. Okay, back to search. And here we go. I'm going to put these listing numbers back in again. Okay, excellent. I'm going to click modify, and we're going to go into the format under the options and select our customer format. All right. Now I'm going to search now, and very briefly, it went in very quickly this time. Now I'm going to click on the brochure. And it's still shortening it up, but I can expand by clicking this, and now I'd be ready to print this off for my customer. Now let's try something else. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and switch formats. Going up to the format bar. This time we're going to play with formats. I'm going to deselect MLS, and I'm going to go down to brochure. And I'm going to show you how to customize this, because the other way you really don't have much ability to customize. So what we're going to do is we're going to customize this, and instead of the general overview map, I'm going to insert a tax map. Now, I'm not going to be as happy with it, but that's what I'm going to do. Well, I'll show you. So we're going to use a tax map instead of the general overview map, which I would personally never really do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave it 40 per page, or I would change this to all because I like to operate under all. And now when I click search now, we are going to get 3 brochures come up on our screen. One, there's the next property, and then the last property. Okay, so let's go back up here and see we do have the ability to flip through these pictures and pick whatever picture we want to stay on the brochure. Okay, so you can flip through them like so. The other option, you know, we could turn this off, or we could turn it into a picture. Okay, so you can either leave the text map on, or I don't know if you guys can see what I'm clicking on. My arrow, my pink arrow is head to head with a little white arrow right here. And I am using, I'm going to show this one off, on this one on the picture. So by clicking the little white arrows either to the right or to the left, it will take you step by step through the photos. You can take it off a map and add a different photo instead, like that. And then when you're ready to continue, just you can select your print and move forward. Oh, you want to expand your remarks here first. So that's another way you can more customize it, you know, to your liking, whatever picture you want there, etc. And you could do that with all 3 of these. And if I had it set so that each individual listing prints on a brand new page, then I could print all 3 of these at once and they would come out on 3 separate pages. If I'm using the continuous method of printing, so this is going to require me going to my settings to show you. But if I were using the printing continuous method, okay, so under the settings, I'm going to click on printing. And you can just read that. You can see I have yes, that I want each new record to show up on a new page. If you're using the continuous method, meaning that say that the first brochure only took like a half a page, it's going to start the second brochure on the bottom of page 1 and then roll it over to page 2. So if you have it on no, you're going to use the old continuous printing method, that's okay. But what you'd want to do probably with this one is there's another way to play with this. I'm going to go back to search, and under modify, what we'll do at this point is change our per page to 1 each so that you see the first brochure and you modify it to your liking, you know, whatever pictures you want. And then, of course, you know, expand your remarks. And then you'd print this individual page. You would just print the page. Whoops, you would print the page here. Okay, and then you go to the next page. And the next page link is at the very bottom. So you would go on to the next page. And then tailor this to your liking, whatever picture you select. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm just curious about that because we're not supposed to be using Google Maps without permission, but okay. And then over here, we can change this one, and then we would want to expand our remarks, and then we would print this one individually. It takes a little bit longer, but that's another way you can do it on each individual page. All right, let's go back to modify. And let's see, our next format, what's that going to be? Now we've looked at MLS, and we haven't looked at TMK one line. Let's do that, and then we'll get into some of the more detailed ones. Okay, so, oh, I still have brochure on. This is a good example then. Okay, so TMK one-liner up here. And it's in customer format, therefore I'm not seeing the owner's name. Right below it is the brochure because I forgot to turn the brochure off. And then it gives me the link for the next page. So let's tidy this up a little bit. I'm going to click modify. I'm going to go back up to format. And I'm going to deselect brochure. Voila. And I'm going to leave TMK selected. And I'm going to turn the option for customer format off, and now I'm going to search. Oh, forgot to do one more thing. What was that? My per page. Put my per page back on all. Now we should see all three of the properties in the full TMK information available to us via the TMK one-liner, meaning that it's going to include the owner's name and I believe the last deed price sale there. And then, of course, if you click on the tax key number, it will open up the full TMK for you. And you can scroll down and check all that out. Okay, let's try another one. It's full TMK here. Okay. And then finally, let me see if this third one has what I'm looking for here. Yeah, okay. One thing I want to point out to you is the sketch. And we talk about it briefly in the orientation, the MLS orientation for new subscribers. And this is what we talk about. Here's the building sketch. And notice the building sketch has like the main area, section B, C, D, E, and F, and those all refer to this chart below. So we've got section main, B, C, D, E, F. There's even a G. I'm not sure where that is in the sketch, but it gives you the main and then as well as some of the other areas, a brief description of what story it lies on, first story, and then the area involved, the square footage. Okay, so that's where those areas are calculated in the public records. Now, if you click on an area, this used to work, let's see if it still does. Yeah, I clicked on the word main, and you can see it outlined everything that's included in the main section. Okay, everything in the main section. Now, if I wanted to see what was included in the F section, I simply then would click on the F. It's not, there we go. And so it outlined everything in the F section. So that's a little bit of interaction that you can have with the sketch. Okay, let's move along. All right. What else do I want to show you here? This little icon, I don't think we went through all the rest of the icons. I'm going to go back and show you a few more. Tax map. So if I click on this, it will open up the tax map. Depending on what your settings are, how it will open your tax map, and that'll be handled in the maps class. But this is the tax map for this property here. Okay, it's right, the plat map it gives you. All right, that's what that little pinpoint is. If you do not have that little pinpoint right there, that's because your broker does not subscribe to our tax map service. So for a reasonable fee, I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think it's that expensive. On an annual basis, your broker can subscribe, and then everyone in the office has a subscription to the online tax maps through the public records section here. All right, I'm clicking modify because what I want to go back, I want to backtrack a minute and make sure that we've covered the rest of these items. Okay, we talked about brochure. The next item over is the photographs. If I were to click on one of these, it would bring up the photographs for that listing. If I hover my mouse over it, it tells me how many photographs are loaded for that listing. So you can see this one has 21. I'm going to click on the 21 photos or click on the link. And if I were going to send these, say I wanted to send a few of these photographs to a client of mine, or I know what we can do. This is even more fun. We're going to add it to the basket. I love the basket. Okay, so I'm going to select my faves just by my quick looking here. Ooh, what a pretty sunset. Wonder if that's an original picture. It's beautiful. Okay, one more. Oh, let's do this one. Okay, now I've picked several photographs, and you can see I use the checkmark box feature. They're all in yellow, the ones that I selected. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the Actions menu and click Basket. And it wants me to, it's asking me, do I want to put the whole page in, just the checked items or the not checked? I'm going to put the checked items in the basket. You see? Now, what happens is a basket is now up and running, okay? And we can always go back to our search by clicking search. We can always go back to our list of photos by clicking photos, and it takes us back to the whole list. I can close out of the photos, back to search. Now, to access the basket again, all you have to do is click on, no, there should be a basket link. Maybe it didn't save my basket for some reason. Very weird. Oh, here. This is where it is. That's right. They've moved the link up here. You just click on the little shopping cart. Let me show you once again. It's on the dark blue bar up above is your basket. So click on the basket and it will temporarily store whatever you throw in there. You can clear it out at any time if you want. But let's keep searching and we'll add some more stuff. Okay, so that's how we can get to the photos. That's one way. The next icon over, they vary here. You can start to see differences. The first listing shows a link for a virtual tour. Now, I'm going to save us a bunch of agony. I'm not going to click on the virtual tour because of the fact that I'm already downloading the information to my station and then doing a webinar, rebroadcasting all this, I would have to do the same thing with that tour, and it really slows things down. So just imagine us looking at a virtual tour by clicking that link. The next item is the condo guide. So for condos, it will produce, only for projects, okay, only condo projects, it will produce this document. And it, first of all, it expires in 2 weeks. It's only valid for 2 weeks, but you can always go back and re-download it and click OK through this message. And each condo project has its own little condo guide. They're all very different. Some of them have lots of pictures and floor plans and stuff. Some of them don't. But this is the original information when the place was developed in the 70s. It shows the prelim date, the supplemental date, the final date, who was the original attorney, architect, developer, sales agent, escrow agent, principal, contractor, all that good information. It shows some information about original sales data, like who cares, that was back in the 70s. I guess it's interesting, but it really wouldn't come into play today, of course. And some just information about the units when they were first built, okay? And sometimes it shows map. This shows a plot map. It shows like some parking lots and evidently some numbers on the spaces, perhaps. Here is some of the floor plans, okay? And it'll tell you what it is, typical floor plans, okay? This is information that you can provide to your clients. That doesn't mean that these haven't changed, right? Because someone could have gotten permits and permission and whatnot to move a wall or this or that, you know. But you can give this to them if you like. Typical plans, more floor plans, and then a copyright date along with the last page here. So some of them have more pictures. Does this even have a picture? No, this one doesn't even have a photograph of the project, but you can look at these and they're good for 2 weeks, and then if you need to get to it again, real easy to do, you just go back and click on the link again, and that's that little it's so hard to tell what that is supposed to be, like a little red cover of a document right there. And then I'm going to skip down to this one, the middle one, where it has a little paper clip. If you click on the paper clip, it'll take you to any addenda that has been uploaded for that listing. Now, if there's not a paperclip, that means there's no addenda uploaded for the listing. This one does have a registration agreement. It's a PDF document, and when I click on it, it downloads it and opens it, and here's this document that the listing agent has provided to you via that link. Now, that is uploaded. I'm back in the MLS right now. That is uploaded when the agent put their listing in, or at a later time they can go back and add addenda to a listing. So keep that in mind. You can add addenda to a listing. Take the Manage Listings class and we'll show you how to do that. All right, next item is the little drop-in pin, which we've already discussed. If your broker subscribes to it, you'll have an access to the tax map. If your broker doesn't subscribe, you won't have that little dropped pin, okay? All right, that covers all those icons. Let's start playing around with some more formats. And because I've shown you some of those icons, we can skip some of these formats because they're the same thing. All right, I'm going to deselect the MLS, and let's go with the MLS One Photo, which I happen to really like. Because, just like it says, one photo and a little bit abbreviated information, not a whole lot, but it tells them how many photos. This is what your client would receive. Of course, you'd put it in customer format first, but your client would receive this. They could click on this for the photos. They can click on the MLS number for further information. Do you see all these little icons? Same thing we just went over. They can click on all these little icons for all the information, like the brochure and etc. Okay, except for things that are disallowed via, well, let's just take a look and see. When I change it to customer format, a few of the icons go away. Like, I don't believe the history is available under customer format, so that would go away. But when I take it back, you get all the full icons back when you put it back off of customer format. Okay, so this is a nice little way to look, and let's add one of these for fun to our basket. Okay, so I'm going to select a listing, and I'm going to go down to basket, and I'm going to add the checked item, and it pops me in my basket. Now, don't get confused sometimes. Sometimes your basket looks just like your main screen. And the way to know where you are at any time is to look up here, and it'll tell you this is your basket. And the reason we do that is because they look so similar to the actual MLS search screens and the result screens sometimes. So here's that listing I just added. You see that? Okay, let's go back to search, leaving that basket open. Click modify, format. Now we're going to just start winging by here. Whizzing by. Okay, MLS Mid. Take a look at this one. This one's pretty nice too. It's the one that we normally see with the two pictures and a map and most of the fields. Okay, that's called MLS Mid. MLS Mid. Next item, MLS Mid Grid. Okay, this is the old grid format that we agents from a long time ago are so used to, and so they kept that format because a lot of people are so used to looking in a certain spot for information about a listing. So we have the ability to also put it in this format again still. Let's click modify. That's called MLS Mid Grid. MLS Full. Full. Okay, this is no pictures, but this is all of the fields that are being utilized in the listing. So things that you don't normally see on some of those other screens, like building features. Okay, you don't normally see building features on those other MLS screens. Construction information, yes, but not in its own section. What else do we have? Yeah. Utilities and features section. It's a lot more encompassing than like the MLS Midgrid. So this is every field that the person's using that they have information in will be showing up here. So let's click modify, format, and we've already explored the brochure, so we're going to skip over that one. MLS book, 2 per page. You get 2 per page with this MLS book format here. Okay. So when you go to print it, it should give you 2 per page. Let's do a PDF, put it in customer format, and see what that looks like. And I lied, because I put 3 per page. Oh no, here's our PDF. Here's our PDF. And it didn't go so well, did it? Not really. Not looking so pretty. That one kind of rolls onto this next page, so that didn't work. I'm going to report that as a problem. I'll just leave it up and running to remind myself. Okay, modify. So you get the gist. You can play around and get, lots of different views. Here's an MLS Quick, and it's very abbreviated again. And this is what it's going to look like. Let's see. Let me pop it in customer format. This is what it looks like in customer format. You might want to send this one to them. So let's add one of these to our basket. Okay, and add to the basket the checked listing. All right, we're back in the basket. There's our 6 pictures. There's our one photo listing, and then there's the one we just did, the quick, MLS Quick. How do we get back to our search results? Go up to the tab, click search. Okay, now I'm going to click modify format, and let's play with photos. All right, let's do 2 here. I'm going to do MLS, one-liner, and photos, but I only want to see the first 3 photos of every listing. Now, this is a good time to remind you guys, when you put listings in MLS, you're always going to want to put your best photos first, and this is exactly why. Because if I have to show, say I have 2 hours to work with these people tomorrow, and 30 listings match their requirements or their search criteria, I have to weed these out somehow or another. I only have 2 hours to work with them. I'm only going to show them a few select listings. So somebody just might do this and make it easy for them to look at these listings. And there you go. You've got your MLS one-liner and 3 photos. If you don't have your best photos up front, they may not even click on the MLS number to look at more details, okay? But this is a good way to quickly preview some listings, especially if you're on the fly. You've got somebody that wants to see some stuff, they didn't give you any notice, and so you can just, very quickly hit your photos and look at 3, 5, 6, whatever, or you can look at them all. That's another option too. You could just do the one-line listing, and if you like the photos, then go up and click on the MLS number to see further. So I'm going to click modify, and let's see here. Back to our format, and we can get our driving directions. So say we wanted to just do the MLS and driving directions. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so voila, you have it. All right, let's click modify, format, cumulative. This is for people that like statistics, okay? I don't know what to tell you about this except that it groups your listings by type of properties in certain districts. So for 3.7, the listing count of condos is 1, and the listing count of land is 1, and the listing count of, see how it's putting these in types of property, residential, this one's land res, and the other one is condo, and so it just gives you the count. So if you had a big long list and you wanted to know how many were land and condo and whatever, people use that for preparing statistics, I believe. MLS history, and this is one way I would look at these before I show them. Once again, a quick brief look at the history for each one of these listings. So you've got your listing information here with the MLS one-liner and your history information here. Scrolling down, looking at each one, and taking notes or what have you. Okay, modify. What's next here? We will look at conversion. I'm skipping. That is an old field from when we converted from like 4.3 to 5.1 or something like that. So that was a long time ago. It's not applicable any longer. And then we have addenda. So for listings that we want to see the addenda, if you recall, you can upload addenda to your listing. This one has no addenda. This listing has the one PDF document, and this listing has no addenda. Okay, I'm kind of going fast because we're going to run close on time. Condo projects. All right, so if we have a condo in our list of properties, and I select condo projects as one of the formats, it comes up with this little handy dandy summary for you of how many condos, how many units, how many floors. It divides it out by unit types. Like there's 75 one bedrooms, and that's it in this particular project. I wouldn't pay much attention to this average deed. I would do other searches for that. But that's the format called condo projects. Now we're going to start looking at some TMK stuff, okay? Now we've already looked at the TMK basic up here, TMK, but now I want you to take a look at TMK short, and these are going to start looking like the MLS listings almost. So short doesn't give you all the building details and all the sketch and all that stuff. It's just a more short, abbreviated, you know, the owner's information, assessed values, the sales, and that's about it. So that's the short. That's TMK short. TMK quick, once again, kind of reminds me of the MLS quick. It's like 4 per page. And so it's just a little box with some very basic information. Again, any of these can be added, or you can add the whole page to the basket by clicking basket, click page, and all that stuff's added into our basket. Notice it's all added in the order that we put it in here. So when I scroll down through the basket, there's the last thing I added. Okay, modify, format, TMK full, which we've looked at this, but I'll just show it again real quick. All right, TMK full, one right after another. If I wanted them to show up on separate pages, I would set my pages to 1 record per page. And if you need help remembering about that, that would be right here, per page, 1. That's what I would do if I want to see 1 per page. Okay, property report. Now this, basically, the property report gives you the X and Y axis, latitude and longitude, okay, via Bing Maps or Google Maps, okay? And you can click on one of these, and it will open up the Google Map with the pointer on it based upon, now that's not exactly where the unit is, okay? But it is, let me grab my arrow. It's pointing to this latitude, longitude right here. And that's just achieved from the Google Maps or the Bing Maps, one or the other. Okay, click modify. Maybe I'm introducing you to some of these things you've never seen before. Now, building full. This is the full building information out of the public records. Okay, it doesn't include the other stuff, the owner's name and sales history and stuff. This is just the building details. And if there's a sketch, then it'll show up. Only one of our properties that we're looking at has a sketch. So, modify. Okay, that was building full. DPP, that only applies to properties on Oahu, so I'm not going to illustrate that to you. Let's take a look at this loans. I'm going to hit MLS. Notice how you can use more than one. MLS and then loans. Now, loans is a separate little part of the public records. It doesn't show up on the normal full TMK screen, okay? You have to actually go to the format called loans in order to see this. Here's another thing. It does not show what's still outstanding, what mortgages have been paid off, which ones haven't been paid off. It just simply goes back and gives you a history of mortgages that were recorded on the property, okay? And so that's all you have. You do have a couple of links occasionally over here for BOC. So let's take a look at this prospect mortgage and click on that. And you can see, let's see if you guys are seeing this document yet. It downloaded the document that's recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances for this mortgage. So this is the mortgage instrument, okay? So there are some things that you can look at. But not all of them have the BOC link. That's what I was wanting to point out. And even though this is the most recent mortgage recorded, we don't know. Could have been paid off, could have been refinanced. I don't know. There's no, that you have to actually check with the lender. Okay, so that is loans, the loan section. All right, now sales. This will be just the sales section of the public records. Okay, the sales history section of the public records for the property. Okay, so if you ever wanted to show someone, you know, up and down market kind of thing, you'd have to catch one that didn't have any transfers in it, but let's send, we can send the sales history just by itself if we wanted to and add it to the basket. Now this is the last thing I'm going to add to the basket today. So let's go to the basket, and here we are. This is our basket. And notice that you can remove items. So let's say that I want to get rid of this picture. I'm going to select it and go down to the trash can and remove the item that is checked. And it takes it out of my basket. Okay, so you can remove certain items if they do have a check mark box next to them. You can, at the end of the session, you can now copy and paste this somewhere. You can print this out for yourself or for a client. You can email this whole basket. You can create a PDF out of this whole basket, or you can remove all the entire contents of the basket and start over. Once you log out of the system and log back in, your basket's no longer there. Okay, so once you exit out of the MLS, the basket's gone. It's just a temporary place for you to place items and then do something with them later. Either print them off, email them, what have you. So, and I can clear the basket at any time, just hitting the clear right there. My basket's now empty, and then I can add more things to it, or add things to it again. So that's what the basket's all about. Let's click Modify and see what else. We've got a couple more to deal with here. Okay, I'm not going to look at the sketch and the permits. Oh, let's look at the permits. Now, I'll be honest with you. What I do and what my procedures are is I always inquire about permits directly with the county. That's just my protocol and the way I do it. There is permit information in here, and it's only as current as the last download. So I don't know how current this particular this particular status report comes from, how current it is. but these are permits that have been pulled on these properties. And this is all the permits for this one, and because there's so many, it's everything on that TMK. So let's just skip this one entirely and go to the next listing, because that's every single permit that was ever pulled on that project. Okay, so here's typically what you'll see is a permit or two for a house, a property. This one's residential. It looks like they started an owner-builder permit. It says it's still active, and that opens an entire can of worms that I'm not going to go into. But talk with your brokers about that if you have any questions about owner-builder permits that are active. Oh, here's another one, active. So there might be more to the story. Contact the listing agent, talk to your broker, but this is one way you can research permits. And again, I usually go and request from the county directly. Okay, format. What else we got to look at here? Okay, some of my favorite things. Branding. Let's play with branding. Okay, I want to use MLS. Let's do MLS One Photo. Let's put this in customer format. And let's click search now. And because I've added the branding, at the bottom of my report, no matter what it is that I'm giving out, can always contain my information. So they know where it came from. Whether I'm emailing, printing, creating a PDF, what have you, this information, because I selected branding, it puts this information at the bottom of my report, which I think is a wonderful idea. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if you have a headshot loaded, it will also put your headshot on here too. So I'm just listed here as the trainer. I'm just logged in as the trainer account, so that's all it's showing right now. But any format that you use, whether it be the one-liner or the one photo, let's do the one-liner. Voila, your branding's always going to be at the bottom if you have that selected. Okay, and once again, I don't know why we have it at the very bottom, but we do. It's at the very, very bottom, and it says brand. I've got 7 more minutes left. I want to show you schools. Schools is squirrely, but before I do that, I want to add something to it. Give me a second here. I want to add another listing to it here. Okay, I am going to add my favorite area, Hove. Okay, 298-356. Okay, here we go. Back to search for listings, and what I'm going to do is add one more on here. Click search now, and what I did was I selected schools, and what's going to happen is your screen's going to get super duper busy. Okay, so here is the TMK for one of the properties. Here's the MLS number for that property, that same property. In between is the school information, and it's cutting off a little bit, so I'm going to scroll down and take a look. So if I scroll down, it starts to show schools. Okay, lots of schools and private schools and colleges. Okay, now let's take a look at another one of these. Let's see now. Let me confuse myself here. Here we go. Okay, I want to take a look at this listing right here. And this is the school link. And I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see it says no results. The reason there's no results is because if you look at the search criteria in this little box, it goes by zip code, and then it looks for schools within 1 mile radius of this zip code listed here. So in order to get some schools in the Hawaii County, you've got to go out quite a bit further to maybe even 30 miles. And then once you change any search criteria, right in this little window, you click search. And now it's going to come back with some schools for me because the schools are so far away from the actual property. When you do click on a school name, let me show you what you get. You get this really nifty little information section, which is printable, but I would never hand this out to clients, although it's got wonderful information like the mailing address, phone number, student to teacher ratios. It also has all this information about ethnicity, enrollment and ethnicity, and that's something that I would never hand out as I'd be feared that someone would think I were perhaps like steering, okay? So talk to your broker about that, but there's information here, and guess what, folks? It is public. It's located at the NCES, which is the National Center for Educational Statistics. It's a public website. Anyone can go there and look this information up. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And if you want to get school information, you can use this feature. You can actually print it off and whatnot, but again, I caution you in doing so. Now, one more thing. I have 4 minutes. Good, I have a little bit of time. I'm going to quick create a CMA. Okay, so this is not a CMA class by any means. Actually, I'm going to go back 6 months. And I'm just going to create a CMA for a project. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you a format that becomes very helpful and useful when you're doing a CMA, and that is the summary box. Okay, so don't pay much attention about the format of the CMA, especially if you've not had a CMA class yet. Please take our CMA classes. They are really good, and there's 2 of them, Cloud CMA and then the regular CMA and Updates class. But let's go ahead and do MLS and Summary and click Search. Oh, what happened? Oh, I know why. I still have this stuff in there. Okay. Let me just grab a couple of different... there we go. Let's just go with those 4 because I'm running out of time. But I want to show you what the summary does is it summarizes each section and tells you how many listings. There's 5 listings. It tells you the lowest dollar amount, highest dollar amount, the average, the median, the mode. It does the same thing with days on market. Okay? And here's contingent listings. I'm going to try not to go too fast, but this is the contingent listings section. This is the under contract listings section. And each one has its own little summary at the bottom, you see, summary. The ones that have sold are probably most helpful because, especially when you've got a lot of data to look at. Okay, so we know that these units are probably very far apart, especially when you see these sale dollar amounts from 220 up to the highest being 318. But these are some interesting statistics to provide. Average days on market, 56 in this particular project. Okay, 56 average days on the market. One sold in as quick as 2 days, another sold in as long as 128, which is still not very long considering what the market's done in the past here. And so that's interesting when sellers ask how long it's going to take to sell my listing. Of course, it's all price dependent and market dependent and what season it is, that kind of stuff, which you'll explain that to them. But this is another statistic that you can provide. And this is a really good one for buyers and sellers. SP to LP percentage. So average selling price to listing price percentage. That's what that stands for. So on average, sellers are getting 97.6% of their listed price. Okay. Now you can see one seller got more, right? One seller got 6% less almost. And so this just is an average, but inevitably sellers always want to know how much, what are prices going for? Are they are sell? Am I going to get my list price? What should I mark it up? And so these are some helpful tools to provide. And take our CMA class. We'll go into much more detail about it. But this particular format, this one right here, is called summary. And I wanted to show you that last format. That's the last format for the class. So guys, I've finished right on the dot. Do you have any questions? Those of you still with me? I know somebody had to drop off. A couple people did. You can exit at any time, but if you do have a question, I am going to hang out for a minute and answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you so much for attending. Hope you learned something, and share your information that you learned today with your peers, coworkers, and look forward to seeing you in our future webinars. Aloha. Have a great day, everyone.